Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being the show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Arrow. A great episode. Obviously, a big part of this episode focuses on Vince. It's kind of an interesting situation because Oliver and the Team OG Arrow end up finding out that Vince is the undercover, been working with, Curtis's team because they still don't have a name yet. But that's how they end up finding out. It's because they ended up tracking him down. And it's like, no. He was here to make a meeting with us. It's like, we were going to tell you eventually, which is interesting. But they didn't bring up too much of a fuss about it. But, so sadly for Vince, it's like Caden started getting more and more suspicious. He wasn't 100% sure at what point, but I'm sure stuff obviously just started not sitting well with him, along with his associate that died during that whole situation, the person that Vince had killed. Plus, I'm sure like when Felicity was making Vince pretend to talk about all that like computer jargon, I'm sure that was very suspicious for him too. So, because sad thing is Vince had to do this because this was the only steps that they could take to find the bomb. And kind of fitting the title of the episode, it sadly turns out that everything was ultimately all for nothing. It's kind of a super downer of an episode in the grand scheme of things, especially for Dinah. It's like after everything they've been through, like she's thinking he's dead, finding out he's vigilante, and it's like, oh, giving you a second chance, find out you betrayed me. It's like, oh, but never mind, you've actually been undercover this entire time. Okay, let's start things up. Oh, you're gone, type of thing. And it's just an influx of emotion. So her feelings are very complex. That's a relationship that just kind of like, because it's like, if they were just all the way together throughout everything, that'd be one thing, but just so much left unsaid, so much not done, so it's just super sad. And I mean, especially the way he died too. He died with like Black Siren using her siren scream into his ear and killing him. I guess because I was like, oh, would that really be enough to kill him though? I guess it would break his brain, and because his ability can probably regenerate. I mean, which does beg the question, like, if you were to cut his head off, would he be able to regenerate? Probably not. Like, it probably is kind of like a zombie thing of like, the rest of the body can heal, but the fact of the matter is, once he takes brain damage, I guess that's kind of like the one thing that can't fully recover. Maybe it can, but like, he needs time. But the fact is, maybe her scream basically turned his brain to mush. I don't know. We might see a twist where it's like, no, he's not actually dead. He's actually still alive. It's just, he just needed more time for his brain to recover. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that, but I mean, it's a situation everyone can understand, but the sad thing is it led the team split up because like Dinah was like, no, I got to rescue Vince. It's our fault for doing this, even though it was Vince's idea. Because the reason why Dinah feels so responsible for Vince is because everything that happened to Vince, him basically ending up the way he is as vigilante, is because of her in her mind. Because like when they were undercover originally, and everything that set all this off for them is he wanted to call Singh and like call the operation off because it's like, oh yeah, Sean found out there's a cop under his payroll, and it's like, oh, like we need to get out. We don't know whose cover is blown. And so it seems like it was a situation of because Dinah's cover was blown, just guilt by association, because like, oh, there's something there, always making excuses, being away from, trying to get away with each other, that Vince was found out. And so that you can tell like that's why Dinah does what she does, because she feels extra guilt over that situation. But even Vince was saying it early on in the episode, like that was my choice. Don't let that kind of be the burden. So, and maybe she also takes responsibility thinking that Vince going down the route he did was because of her too, like becoming vigilante and all that. So she feels the most responsible. But, Oliver and the others, they were like, well, the fact of the matter is, yeah, Vince, we know he's important to you, but at the same time, it's like, we got to save the city. This might be our one chance to get the bomb. But it's that complicated situation because, Dinah points it out. It's like, if this was Lila for John or Felicity for you, Oliver, you would jump at the chance to save them. But basically, when it came down to try and track down the bomb, there was just too much for just the two of them to handle, because there's not enough people on Team Arrow to help with that situation. Not only did, you had Anatoly strapping bombs on all those different people, and they got away with the big bomb that's going to basically put the city in danger. Also interesting enough that basically they kind of, within the realm of the show, it has been about a week because they've paid about 70 million, and now they're trying, like, Thea's working with everybody, try to scrape together as much money as possible. It does make you wonder, does this make will Caden kind of move up his timetable because of everything? Not only finding out about a traitor amongst his midst, but also the fact is that Oliver got very close to getting the bomb in this particular case, so maybe that might make him move up his plans even further. But like I said, just the sad, depressing situation all around. And what makes the whole Laurel situation even sadder is because, like, you know, she had been following Lance around. And the thing is that Caden was like, oh, she's on assignment. So that does beg you to question, like, well, is this part of her assignment or was this kind of her on her own? But the fact of the matter is when Caden ordered her to do it, she was kind of like, wait, what? Like, she actually, you could see her hesitating. Like, there was a little remorse there, which is like, you've done hurt people before. What makes this so different? But all her time following Lance, him talking to her, because she never really knew her dad, and Lance, you know, he sees a different side of her. He even showed her the projector images. It's like, look, this is my little girl. I look in your eyes and I see that same warmth. I see the potential of a hero in you, just like I did in her. So, but obviously she's not willing to see it, just because for her, it's like, she's always been a bad guy. So that's how she's always going to look at herself. She's like, I'm not, you know, this is who I am. Because I'm sure in her eyes, it's just like, you know, there's probably also a part of her that's like, no, you're just trying to replace me with your daughter. I won't be somebody's replacement. But at the same time, I was like, well, maybe it leaves her a little conflicted too, because it's like, well, maybe it would be a good thing to be a replacement. Maybe to have someone look at me like that, to be loved and important to somebody. And like, 'cause we don't really know much about her life on Earth 2, the little bit she's told us, but we don't know, like, personally, like, does she have anyone waiting back on Earth 2 for her? Maybe that's why she's always stayed on Earth 1 subsequently since getting here back in season 2 of The Flash. So she's been here like for like what, 2 years going on, and maybe there's nothing waiting, you know, she's been here on Earth 1 for that long. It's like, maybe there's nothing on Earth 2 waiting for her. I mean, because the fact of the matter is like, this whole Arrowverse situation has already shown us that bad guys don't always have to stay bad guys. There are multiple great examples of that. Heatwave and Captain Cold are great examples. They were the first examples of, like, you know, especially for Barry, is like, once enemies are now allies, you have Heatwave all being like the badass, like, you know, legend that he is. You even, like, more recently in Supergirl was Livewire and Psy. You know, those are two villains that kind of turned over a new leaf because of Kara. So who's to say that the same can't be said for Laurel? But the problem is with this situation is that because Dinah's on a rampage now, she wants to kill everybody. And especially she wants to start with Laurel. And the fact is Thea had to break this news to Lance. And it's like he was holding on to that hope. But like, well, maybe there is no hope now. But I mean, that's the question, because it's like, ultimately we'll have to see. Like I said, I get the feeling like, because who's to say that VIDS is dead? Like, what if Laurel did just enough that she knew it wouldn't kill him? Maybe she knew the limits of Vince's powers. Maybe she kind of warned him some point ahead of time. I don't know. It's hard to say, because it easily could be a situation if she dialed her powers back enough. Yes, she would rattle his brain, kind of mess him up a little bit. But maybe if she pulled it back enough, she could make sure that, oh, he heals enough after. It's like I said, it seems like Vince is dead. And maybe that's what they're setting this whole thing up to be. But maybe it could just be like a red herring there. The fact of the matter is he pops up later. Hopefully it's before like Dinah kind of goes on a rampage, because you had Oliver stopping her from being like this before, but now she's pissed at everyone, and even Oliver, because it's like, oh, it's your fault, because the fact of the matter is, you're trying to come here and apologize, which Oliver's like, I'm not going to apologize for what I did. The fact of the matter is, it's a sucky situation. It's like, yeah, you want him to go and help you, but the fact of the matter is, this is a potential to save the city, because at the same time, like, Oliver, you're asking Oliver to go 3 different ways. He has his responsibility as his Green Arrow, a responsibility as, even though you're former teammates, you're still allies. So he wants to do what it is to help you, because the fact of the matter is, like, you still are his friends, and he does care, and he knows what you're going through. Oliver super knows what you're going through, because he's lost so many people. Like, I mean, he's lost his dad, he's lost his mom, he lost Laurel. It's like, Oliver knows and understands loss, and he gets... It's just a tough situation to be in, because also, let's not forget, he also has to look out for the safety of the city too, because as its mayor as well, because of the fact of the matter is they're kind of running low on time, like I mentioned earlier, funds. So because Oliver was able to convince her before, to kind of not go down this path. But now it's like, with her being mad at Oliver too and losing Vince in this way, it just kind of set her down that path again. And she's not likely to listen to Oliver this time, especially because they're not on good terms. Does beg the question what she's going to do about Curtis and Renee. Like, they'll probably try and hold her back. At the same time, they'll probably want to try and be like, on her side with everything. Be like, no, 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 we're in this together. But it's like, can we really go down this route? Like, she's just pure on revenge, wanting to kill everybody. And with a mindset like that, with her being so focused on that, it might be to the point she might not pay too much heed for Curtis or Renee's safety, just because for her, it might not matter about her anymore. As long as she takes them down with her, she doesn't care about what happens afterwards. Maybe she'll care about the team, but like when you're kind of consumed by rage and revenge in that situation, I mean, that's kind of what, the sad thing is that also kind of would make her no different than Caden, sadly, because he's fueled by revenge too, and you see all the terrible things he's doing. And once again, the question is, what's going to happen when it does come out like, oh, they had nothing to do with your son's death, it was actually faked and everything, like someone else set that whole situation up? Then it's like, what will he do then is what I'm curious about, So, and speaking of that whole situation, Helena was working with Felicity. They go through the footage and they end up finding the source of what, they end up finding out the evidence that Caden saw. And it seems like basically the doctor footage just shows like Oliver shooting an arrow and it cuts to another cam and it's like, boom, the arrow's in Caden's son. But the fact of the matter is they didn't put it together that data was the same data from the doctored photo of Oliver with his hood down, with his mask off. And then it was like, whoa, because that's a real trick, because the entire time it's been under the impression like, oh, hey, that was Caden who did it. It's like, nope, the same person who set Oliver up with this whole situation, put Caden on his case, is the same one that like set up that photo situation. So does that, I'm guessing that's also setting up the fact is that even before like the device in Oliver's bunker, even before like Laura had already set that up, he already knew who the Green Arrow was because of that doctored photo. So that's just so interesting to me. Like, all of it's been set up because they even put it, it's like, it has to be someone close to Caden to be able to set this whole thing up, because they knew exactly how he would react. Immediately my brain kind of thought it could be something crazy, like it's actually Helena. She's actually pretending to be like the victim in this situation. Like, she's like, oh, I had to get away from Caden because he's just a deranged man. Is it really like that? Or could it be a situation of like, she's secretly the one that orchestrated this whole thing? Because I feel like the person who also did this has to be someone not only that's on his side, but I feel like it has to be someone that knows Oliver is a Green Arrow. Like, well, who knew that? A lot of people connected to Helix knew that, because let's not forget, Helena's the one that kind of figured it out. It's like, oh yeah, I know all your secret identities. So she could be playing the long game. I don't know. I don't know. Especially just because she's popped in and out of the story like that makes me go, well, the fact of the matter is there's so many different people this could be too. Because let's not forget, there's still two people out there. Once again, the whole like Leah and you situation. Well, he came back for Laurel, so I don't know. Because there's still, God, I'm forgetting her name. Artemis, essentially. I forgot what her real name is, and it's going to bother me. The one who betrayed Team Arrow. Once again, we still don't know where her, Nissa, or Talia are. So once again, it could easily be Talia or Artemis that are the ones who set this whole thing up, especially because they have such a beef with Oliver. But then again, it turns into that situation, but it has to be someone close to Caden to be able to do this. I feel like who could that be? I don't think it's the dragon. I'm pretty sure it's probably Anatoly. I get the feeling it might be him, like, because he knows Oliver enough to kind of set something like that up, but I don't know, because they're like, oh yeah, it's not just Vince that he has to worry about. There's someone else. There is another traitor amongst them. I was actually thinking that the story would tilt to the way of like, oh, like they think it's Vince, but then they see Laurel and they're like, oh, you went off meeting with Lance? Oh, it's actually her. We got to try and deal with this situation. And so she's kind of on the run from the group. I thought something like that was going to happen. There's still a possibility for that to come about. I'm curious to see what they do with Laurel going forward, because like, especially because Lance won't look at her the same way, or she'll probably go and try and meet him, but it's like, or maybe she won't because of what happened, and she might feel like, oh, it did get back to him. Maybe she hopes it didn't. Maybe she can explain herself firsthand. I don't know. it might be the one thing that if she ends up meeting with Lance, it might be the one thing that kind of set her back to being 100% on her evil ways, because it's like, well, no one believes in me anymore, so I might as well just play the role. Why don't I just stay a villain, you know? So we just kind of have to see about that. But like I said, that just whole thing kind of gets you thinking, like, who else could it be that's close to him that's betraying him like that? And there was also something I was quickly thinking about while recording it too. It's like, not unless it was his son. I mean, we don't know. Like, maybe his son faked his death or something like that. So, I mean, we still don't know the circumstances around it. Like, did Caden actually go to the funeral? Like, did Caden actually see the body? Like, where was Caden? Well, the fact of the matter is Caden was locked up. Because, yeah, I forgot. Because this was also during last season. Because the murder happened while Oliver was in Hope City. I'm trying to remember. Was that before or after Caden got released when they got Laurel? I want to say that was before they got, not Laurel, Dinah. I want to say they got Dinah before they ended up doing it. So it could be a situation of he didn't find out until after he got out. So, and it's like, who? Because I also have to think about it. Around the time that happened, who was around him? Helix was. So that kind of tilts in my head, like, might just be Helena. Once again, she knows Oliver's identity, so she would know how to doctor that to kind of show it as Oliver's face. It wasn't just a guess to kind of steer trouble. It's like, because it's like, I don't know. I feel like you could have put anyone's face. So why specific Oliver, unless you knew definitively that he was the Green Arrow, and it would be a lot more believable because Oliver would have to struggle with it, you know? So I don't know. Like I said, I'm very interested to see where this all goes. Like, you know, like I said, the divide between the teams was already big before, and then it seemed like it was healing up any sooner. It seemed like this was kind of maybe an episode that was, there's always steps in the right direction, but now it feels like they took one step forward and like 3 huge leaps back in this particular situation. Like I said, we would just have to wait till like, see what goes down in the next episode with the continuation of all of this. And I guess there's really quickly, there is also that part of my brain that thought, maybe there is something that runs a little deeper here too, because Oliver and Vince had that little conversation. I'm sure it's just nothing. It's just kind of set up to be like, oh, Oliver's like, oh, can I really trust you? And it's like, well, I don't, you know, because for Oliver, it's like, you've literally tried to kill everyone in that room back there at some point in time, you being vigilante and everything, which he's kind of like, well, whatever, you can trust me or not. I really don't care. I'm not here to earn your trust anyway. And he's like, oh, you're going to, you know, in the end of the day, like, using me is the only way to kind of get this done, that you have to save the city by any means, which is, I guess that kind of plays into the role of why Oliver made that decision even more so, because even Vince was like, go ahead and do this if you need to, because it's like, do whatever it takes to save the city. It's kind of Vigilante's whole means of operating. So Oliver has kind of had a tendency to kind of try and do that anyway, but I think Vince's words kind of resonated with him even more. So that might be set up for that. That might have been all that plays into, but or the fact of the matter is Oliver knows more than he's letting on, because Oliver is like the man for keeping secrets. So maybe there's more to that. Like I said, I highly doubt it, but still kind of throwing it out there, you know, putting it in it, you know, out there as a just very slim possibility. So like I said, you know, I have to wait and see where all the cards lie at the end of all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.